Good morning. I've the tomatoes in the greenhouse are finished now, so I had them in big pots. I've tipped all the pots out into this big green garden bag and I'm putting them onto the compost heap. The compost heap is, I combined both of these compost heaps a couple of weeks ago, dug them over, last week it was, did my back in, it was terrible. Anyway, it's generating quite a lot of heat now, so I'm quite pleased about that. And it's gone down a lot as they do. So I'm just trying to keep it topped up for a bit to keep that heat going. What I really am after is getting enough heat to kill the weed seeds. What I'm finding is my compost just isn't getting hot enough to kill the weed seeds, so I'm having huge amounts of weeds and flowers, mainly flowers to be honest, which isn't such a big problem, but just to have a bit more control, I would rather the compost got hot enough to kill those weed seeds. So yeah, I'm just trying to keep it topped up. So I'm not adverse to putting pots of soil on that I've had things in. Spent soil, for a start, you don't know that it's spent, could still have nutrition in. This soil that the tomatoes were planted in was chicken compost from the chicken run, so it would have had a lot of nutrition in. There still might be some there, maybe, but on top of that it's got all the roots of the plants, which are good organic matter to be putting onto your compost heap. So yeah, get this on, and then I've got a bucket of kitchen scraps, vegetable peelings and what have you to go on top of that. This huge tree is Goosefoot. There's a weed variety called lamb's quarter which grows everywhere. You just pull it out like a weed, but it's all edible. You can eat the leaves in salad. I think you could probably sort them off. I think it might be a type of tree spinach, but I'm not sure. I had no idea it would grow as big as this. I just thought they were going to be little plants. They're very pretty. However, that's not why I'm telling you about it. I discovered something really interesting last night browsing around on Pinterest. This was on a foraging site, and what I didn't know was Goosefoot and lamb's quarter are wild quinoa. So it's not the cultivated type of quinoa that you might buy in the shops, but this is the wild variety. So apparently, according to this website, if I leave this now to go to seed and flower, I can then just harvest off all the flowers. They come in big clumps, tiny little flowers, wait for the seed to form and then pull it all off, and that's your wild quinoa. Fancy. So I'm going to let this go and see what happens. I'm really interested to try that. Apparently you have to harvest loads of the clumps and the flowers before to get much of a harvest, much of a yield of the seed, and it's difficult to separate. You have to kind of rub them in water and the flowers float and the seed drops. The woman said she had 2 cups of the flowers and end up with a tablespoon of the seeds, so it's not going to feed a hungry family, but if you had enough it could. And when you cook it, just boil it, and it's not really like the cultivated quinoa. It's quite crunchy, but nonetheless it's interesting to know. I love to find out new sources of food in surprising places. Quinoa I always thought was something exotic that you would only get in like South America or somewhere like that. I had no idea that little old lamb's quarter growing amongst me veg as a weed was actually quinoa. This tiny little strip of border is really the only growing space that I've got left now in the allotment. I harvested my pink fir apple potatoes. You saw that in the video last week. Got a fantastic crop. So I'm just going to try and quickly replant this and see if I can get anything growing before the autumn sets in. What I've got is this lovely calendar. My daughter bought us it for Christmas last year. It's a Charles Dowding calendar, and on it it's really quite useful. on it, on all the dates, it tells you what you can plant at the given times. So I noticed on yesterday's date it said spinach and spring onions amongst other things. So I'm going to give that a go. I've got some spring onion seed and I've got some spinach seed, so I'm going to fire them in here and hopefully get a little crop before the winter sets in. The soil's lovely and fine with having potatoes in there, so I'm just going to basically give it a quick flatten out, get some seeds in. I've got a whole row of flowers along there. I know they look a mess right now, but I'll just leave them because probably next year they'll come up again as marigolds and foxgloves. Got some aqualesia there as well. Oh, actually I've just noticed a potato there. There's a potato plant I've missed. I'll take that out. There's two plants there. Oh no, that's a marigold. Get your specs on. There you go, that's the potato. Just looks like a little one. There you go. Waste not, want not. A few little tiddlers on there. I've got this packet of red spring onions, North Holland Blood Red Mate, which I got last year. In fact, I've just got two like little areas here and here, which I'm just going to sow them in and get hopefully some nice spring onions. If not this autumn, they will overwinter and they can be there in the spring. But actually one of the reasons I'm doing it also is because I planted spring onions last year about this time and then I just left them. I kind of forgot about them, and they've been the most beautiful flowers, allium flowers, all year. So this is what I've got left. I had a lot more. They're finished flowering now, but they've been beautiful big white flowers all year, and the seed has now started to form, and I've got some saving in the shed. So if you just take those off, then inside of there, can you see that? There's a little black seed. That's your onion seed, spring onion seed for next year. Why buy it when you can save your own? That's my view. So I'm just gonna scatter these on really in no particular strict order. And if I don't get a very high germination rate, well, if I put lots of seed in, then I should be all right. Put them in big rows. And I think I've got room for 2 rows of spinach down here. I don't expect the plants to be getting too big. Don't even really want them to. So I think there's plenty of room for 2 rows if I've got the seed. Just make 2 rough grooves like that all the way down. They don't need to be too deep. Just got 2 half empty packets of Lazio spinach. So I'll just use it up. Feels good to get your old packets of seeds all used up at the end of the year, mind. So I'm hoping that these will all grow up as well as this lot here have. I put these in after I took out my main crop, Maris Pipers. They have shot up. I've got kale, chard and beetroot doing really, really well. So fingers crossed for the spinach, that'll do the same. The French beans are pretty much finished now, but I'm just going to have a check through and see if there's any hiding. I can already see some here. And the courgettes have got their second wind. They're starting up again. And those beans were worth picking. Lasted a lot until next year. I'll probably keep some of those bigger ones, maybe set them aside and see if I can get the seed out of them, because I don't think they'll taste very nice. For the rest, they'll be all right, I think. That is the first runner bean. We save the runner beans to get the actual beans out the middle to eat. And I like to wait until they get brown or yellow like that. That's the first one I've spotted. Oh, I love this time when the beans are ripe. Look at that beauty. Just 2 beans in there. Delicious. I think the last thing I'm going to do today is harvest this little cucumber. Oh, I don't think the cucumber's going to fit through the fence. I never thought of that. Can't get through the gap. What am I going to do? I'll have to feed it up. Should have done this the other day when we had the ladder up. Extreme gardening. Well, thank you for joining me as I potted about the allotment and got some bits and bobs done today. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.